I welcome you all to Prayer Waves TV. Today we are talking on yet another word of truth from the Scriptures. And I assure you are going to be blessed by this. You've prayed. You've fasted. You've asked God to open the heavens. But have you ever wondered if something in your life is still locked, waiting for one act of obedience to unlock the overflow? Tithes and offerings aren't just ancient rituals. They are divine keys to a kingdom system that transcends recessions, inflation, and earthly limitations. Because when you give to God, you're not giving away, you're sowing into eternity. Every dollar you place in God's hands becomes a weapon against lack, a declaration of faith, and a seed with a supernatural assignment. Maybe you've been holding on, fearful, uncertain, asking yourself, what if I don't have enough? But heaven whispers back, what if obedience unlocks more than you ever imagined? This is not about money. This is about trust. It's about building a life that says, God, I believe you are my provider. Not my paycheck. Not my job. But you. You're about to walk into a revelation that millions have ignored. A principle that's not optional in the kingdom. A pathway to purposeful prosperity, financial healing, and divine order. You're not just watching a video. You're stepping into alignment. Get ready. Because what God is about to reveal through this message will transform your view of giving forever. Tithing began not as a rule, but as revelation. Abraham tithed in response to victory and blessing. Before any church or tabernacle existed, God's people knew, you honor God with your first and best. Leviticus 27 verse 30, a tithe of everything belongs to the Lord. Numbers 18:21, tithe supports the Levites, God's ministers. Malachi 3 verse 10, bring the full tithe, test me in this. God didn't suggest the tithe, He commanded it. Not because He needs our money, but because He desires our faith and obedience. The tithe funds ministry, sustains worship, and positions us to be blessed. Malachi 3 verses 10 to 12, windows of heaven open. Protection from the devourer, verse 11. Blessings become visible to others, all nations shall call you blessed. When you tithe, you don't just support the church, you activate divine favor over your household. It's not superstition. It's spiritual law. The moment you release what belongs to God, He releases what belongs to you, overflow, peace, and protection. Tithe, 10% required, God's portion. Offering, free will above the tithe, expresses love and honor. Exodus 25 verse 2, from everyone whose heart prompts them. The tithe is obedience. The offering is worship. When you give beyond what's required, you enter another realm of favor and intimacy with God. Offerings touch God's heart. Malachi 3 verse 10, so that there may be food in my house. 1 Corinthians 9 verse 14, those who preach the gospel should receive from the gospel. Hebrews 10 verse 25, the church is God's gathering place, and it must be supported. Tithing is Old Testament, but Jesus affirmed it in Matthew 23 verse 23. Pastors misuse money, you're giving to God, not to people. I can't afford to tithe, truth, you can't afford not to. The enemy sows doubt to disconnect you from blessing. But God's principles are eternal. Don't let human error rob you of heaven's provision. Woman tithed her last $50, received job offer the next day. Man gave offering to build church, his business doubled. Tithers often report peace, protection, supernatural provision. When people tithe with faith, the supernatural becomes natural. God delights in showing himself strong to those who trust him completely. Here are 7 unshakable biblical rules that lead to true prosperity. Rule number 1, the law of seed time and harvest. Rule number 2, the law of obedience. Rule number 3, the law of faithfulness. Rule number 4, the law of tithing. Rule number 5, the law of generosity. Rule number 6, the law of wisdom. Rule number 7, the law of purposeful living. Genesis 8 verse 22 says, "While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease." What does it mean? The law of seed time and harvest is God's unbreakable system. It governs both the natural and spiritual world. Just like farmers sow seed to reap a harvest later, your financial prosperity in God's kingdom is rooted in your willingness to sow. That seed can be time, service, prayer, but yes, also your tithes and offerings. You cannot expect a harvest where you have sown nothing. Giving activates the law. And tithes? They aren't donations. They are divine seeds that say, "God, I trust your system more than I trust mine." Why? It's a prosperity rule. You can only reap what you sow. If you sow sparingly, you reap sparingly. If you sow generously, you reap bountifully. 2 Corinthians 9 verse 6. You must sow in faith, not fear. Seed released in fear will not activate blessing. Seed released in trust brings God's hand into your finances. There is always a harvest attached to your obedience. God doesn't forget a single seed sown. Galatians 6 verse 9. Most people want breakthrough, but they're holding their seed in a closed fist. But nothing grows in a closed hand. Open your hand, and you'll open your future. Deuteronomy 28 verses 1 to 2. If thou shalt hearken diligently, all these blessings shall come on thee, and overtake thee. God ties prosperity to obedience, not perfection, but a willing heart to follow his instructions. When you obey God, you walk under his favor and covering. Obedience to God brings prosperity. Deuteronomy 28 explained blessings. The law of faithfulness. Luke 16 verse 10. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. Before God can bless you with more, he watches what you do with little. If you're faithful with small income, he can trust you with overflow. Faithfulness and financial increase. How God tests your finances. The law of tithing. Malachi 3 verse 10. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, prove me now. Tithing is God's prosperity covenant. It acknowledges him as your source. God dares us to test him in this, because consistent tithing opens supernatural provision. Truth about tithing in the Bible. Does tithing bring financial blessings? The law of generosity. Proverbs 11 verse 25. The liberal soul shall be made fat. Generosity multiplies what you have. When you bless others, God ensures you never run dry. Stinginess closes doors, generosity opens heaven. Generosity opens doors of blessing. Proverbs 11 verse 25 explained. The law of wisdom. Proverbs 4 verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing. Godly prosperity is not just about giving, but managing wisely. Budgeting, planning, avoiding debt, these are spiritual disciplines. God blesses stewardship. How wisdom leads to prosperity. Biblical money management. The law of purposeful living. Jeremiah 29 verse 11. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you. You prosper when your life aligns with God's purpose. When you're walking in purpose, provision flows. God funds his will, not just your wants. God's purpose and financial blessing. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 and destiny. Which of these 7 rules are you currently practicing? And remember, prosperity is not luck. It's obedience, faith, and trust in the God who never fails. Every time you tithe, you declare, God, you are my source. Every offering says, I trust you more than my income. And heaven responds with open windows, divine ideas, protection, and favor. If you've never tithed, start today. Test God. Trust God. And watch what He does. Your tithe is not a debt you owe, it's a seed you sow. If this message has stirred something in your spirit, if you feel God calling you into deeper trust, then don't scroll away. Leave a comment below and type, Lord, I trust you with my treasure. Let that be your declaration of faith today. Subscribe to this channel for more powerful teachings that ignite your spirit and unlock kingdom principles in your life. Like this video if you believe God is your provider and your source. Share this message with a friend, a loved one, or someone you know who's struggling financially. Sometimes, all it takes is one truth to change everything. And if you're ready to walk in obedience, to give not out of pressure, but out of purpose, then remember. Your tithe is not a bill, it's a key. Your offering is not a loss, it's a seed. And God is faithful to bless what you place in His hands. Thank you.